Hospital corridors stretched endlessly, a sterile maze of white walls and fluorescent lights that buzzed faintly overhead. Sofia, 29, stood outside room 307, her fingers nervously twisting the strap of her purse. Her blonde hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, catching the harsh light as she shifted her weight in her low-heeled boots. She'd worn a simple cream sweater and a knee-length skirt, modest, unassuming. But the way her husband, Leo, kept glancing at her suggested he saw something more. They were here for a routine checkup, a gynecologist appointment she'd been dreading all week. But as the door creaked open and Dr. Elias beckoned them inside, the air thickened with something unspoken, something that made Sofia's pulse quicken. She stepped forward, her breath catching, unsure if she was walking into a medical exam or a trap she'd set for herself. Hey, if that's got your heart racing already, hit that like button and subscribe. You won't believe what's coming next. The examination room was small, clinical, yet oddly intimate. A single window let in slivers of late afternoon sun, casting long shadows across the tiled floor. The exam table sat in the center, its paper crinkling as Sofia perched on the edge, her skirt riding up slightly to reveal the smooth curve of her thigh. Leo stood by the door, arms crossed, his dark eyes flickering between her and the doctor. Dr. Elias was younger than she'd expected, mid-30s, tall, with sharp cheekbones and hands that moved with a quiet confidence as he adjusted his clipboard. His white coat hung open, revealing a fitted shirt that clung to his frame. And when he smiled at Sofia, it wasn't the detached professionalism she'd anticipated. It was something else, something that made her stomach tight. "Have you here today?" Dr. Elias asked, his voice smooth, almost teasing as he glanced at Leo. "That's unusual." Leo shrugged, his jaw tight. "She asked me to come," he said, his tone clipped, like he was daring the doctor to question it. Sofia felt the weight of their stares, a silent negotiation she hadn't signed up for. "I just feel better with him here," she murmured, her fingers smoothing the hem of her skirt. But the truth was murkier. She'd wanted Leo to see her like this, vulnerable, exposed, in a way they hadn't explored in years. Dr. Elias nodded, setting the clipboard aside. "Let's get started then," he said, pulling on a pair of gloves with a snap that echoed in the quiet room. Sofia's breath hitched as he approached, his presence looming as he gestured for her to lie back. She complied, the paper crinkling louder now, her legs parting slightly as she settled onto the table. Leo shifted, uncrossing his arms, his posture stiffening. The doctor's hands were warm through the latex, brushing her knee as he adjusted her position, and Sofia's skin prickled under the touch. "Relax," Dr. Elias murmured, his eyes meeting hers for a beat too long. She tried, but the air was electric, charged with the unspoken. Exam began innocently enough, standard questions, a gentle press of his fingers against her abdomen. But then his hands moved lower, clinical yet deliberate, and Sofia's body betrayed her. A flush crept up her neck, her lips parting as she fought to stay still. Leo stepped closer, his shadow falling over her, and she caught the glint in his eyes, jealousy, curiosity, something darker. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice rough, directed at no one in particular. Dr. Elias didn't look up. "Perfectly normal," he replied, but his fingers lingered, tracing a line that felt less like medicine and more like a dare. Sofia's breath came faster now, her chest rising and falling under the thin sweater. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as the dynamic shifted. "I need to check something else," Dr. Elias said, his tone neutral but his gaze flicking to Leo, testing him. He reached for a speculum, the metal glinting under the light, but his free hand brushed her inner thigh, slow and intentional. Sofia gasped, a soft sound that broke the silence, and Leo's hand shot out, gripping the edge of the table. "What the hell are you doing?" he demanded. But he didn't move to stop it, not yet. Dr. Elias paused, his hand still resting on her skin. "Just being thorough," he said, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Unless you'd rather I stop." The question hung there, a challenge wrapped in velvet. Sofia's eyes darted to Leo, her husband's face a storm of conflict, anger, arousal, indecision. She could have ended it, could have sat up and walked out, but instead she whispered, "Keep going." Leo's grip tightened, his knuckles white, but he stayed silent, rooted to the spot. Speculum was cold, a sharp contrast to the heat building in her core, and Sofia bit her lip as Dr. Elias worked, his movements precise yet maddeningly slow. His other hand pressed against her, guiding, exploring, and she couldn't tell where the exam ended and something else began. Her sweater clung to her now, damp with sweat, and she arched slightly, a reflex she couldn't control. Leo's breathing grew ragged, his eyes locked on her, then on the doctor, a silent war raging behind them. "You're fine with this?" Dr. Elias asked, his voice low, directed at Leo this time. Leo didn't answer, just stepped closer, his hand sliding up Sofia's arm, possessive, grounding her. The line blurred then, irrevocably. Dr. Elias set the speculum aside, his gloves discarded with a casual flick, and his bare hands returned, bolder now, tracing her curves with a hunger that matched Leo's. Sofia's skirt was pushed higher, bunching at her hips, and she felt the air against her skin, the exposure thrilling and terrifying. Leo's hand moved to her chest, slipping under her sweater, his fingers rough against her softness, while Dr. Elias pressed himself closer, his breath hot against her ear. "You're tense," he murmured, and she laughed, a shaky, desperate sound, because it was absurd, all of it. Table groaned as Leo climbed onto it, his body bracketing hers, his lips crashing against her neck as Dr. Elias worked from the other side, their hands overlapping, competing, collaborating. Sofia was caught between them, her senses drowning in the chaos, Leo's familiar weight, the doctor's unfamiliar daring. The sterile room turned into a stage for something raw and forbidden. Her sweater was tugged up, exposing her to the cool air, and she moaned, loud and unashamed, as their touches grew frantic. The window rattled faintly, the only witness to the collision of need and risk unfolding within. I'm dissolved into a haze of motion, hands sliding, fabric tearing, breaths mingling in the tight space. Sofia's legs trembled, her body arching into them, a conduit for their desires and her own. Leo's grip was bruising, Dr. Elias calculated, and she was the center, the spark that set it all ablaze. The climax loomed, a wave she couldn't outrun, and then silence. The overhead light flickered, casting them in shadow, and they froze, a tableau of sweat and tangled limbs. Sofia's chest heaved, her eyes wide, searching Leo's face, then Dr. Elias. For answers neither could give. Dr. Elias stepped back first, adjusting his coat with a composure that felt obscene after what they'd done. Leo slid off the table, his hands shaking as he pulled Sofia's sweater down, covering her like it could erase the last 10 minutes. She sat up, her skirt still askew, her hair a mess, and the room spun around her. "We'll schedule a follow-up," Dr. Elias said, his voice steady, a faint glint in his eye suggesting this wasn't over. Leo didn't respond, just took Sofia's hand and pulled her toward the door. They stepped into the corridor, the fluorescent lights blinding after the dimness, and Sofia glanced back. Dr. Elias stood in the doorway, watching them go, a shadow against the white walls. The door clicked shut, but the echo of what happened lingered, a question mark hanging in the air. What came next was anyone's guess.